Girls Rock Campers. So we are now at the point that we are going to learn to play a basic beat on our drum kits. The first thing we're going to talk about are quarter notes. So quarter notes are just 1, 2, 3, 4. And there are 4 beats per bar, and then there are 4 bars per measure. So again, a quarter beat is just 1, 2, 3, 4, all equally spaced out. So we're going to practice this on our hi-hat. We're just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 on our hi-hat together. 1, 2, 3, 4. And those are our quarter beats. So let's try our quarter beats on our snare drum right here. So again, we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4 on our snare drum. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are our quarter beats on our snare drum. Let's try to play our hi-hat and snare drum together with quarter beats. So we're going to hit the hi-hat and the snare drum at the same time, quarter beats. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to add in our bass drum. So our bass drum, we're going to hit 4 times again for our quarter beats. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's try that one again. 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are our quarter beats. So let's try our hi-hat and our bass drum together doing quarter beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Now let's try all 3. Hi-hat, snare, and our bass drum all doing together quarter beats. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Great. Now we are going to work on 8th note beats. So the 8 notes are similar to the quarter beats. However, there are 8 notes in there. So an 8th note is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we're basically doubling the quarter beats times 2. And on the 8th note, we have an and. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So those are our 8th note beats. So let's try to practice that on our hi-hat. Ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That is our 8 notes. So we'll do that twice through. Ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So those are our 8 note beats. So let's try that now on our snare drum. Ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, and now let's try that with our bass drum. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now let's try playing our hi-hat and our snare drum together doing the 8th note beats. Ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, so let's try to do this for the 4 bars for our measure. So we're going to do 4 bars total. So we're going to add in the first bar is just going to be our hi-hat, and then the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th bar will also include our snare. Okay, ready? Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing, but instead of the snare, we are going to play the bass drum. And the bass drum is going to come in on 1 and 3. So beats 1 and beat 3. So again, your hi-hat keeps playing the entire time, and then your bass drum is on beat 1 and beat 3. So for the first bar, we're going to just use the hi-hat and play our eighth notes, and then on the second bar, we're going to come in and play our bass drum on the beats 1 and 3. Ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, so let's try that one again. Hi-hat on the first bar for the eighth notes, and then on the second bar, we're going to bring in our bass drum on beats 1 and 3. Ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Great. Now we're going to do 4 bars. So we're going to do the first bar, just the hi-hat, and then the second, third, and fourth bar, we're going to keep with the bass drum on beats 1 and 3. Ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Great. Okay. Now comes the part where we're going to combine all 3 together. So we're going to have our hi-hat, we're going to have our snare, and we're going to have our bass drum. So again, hi-hat just plays continuously through. We're going to have our snare on beats 2 and beats 4. And we're going to have our bass drum on beats 1 and 3. So we're going to put this all together. So on the first bar, let's just play the hi-hat like we've been doing, and then we'll add in the snare and the bass drum on the second bar. Okay, ready? Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Good. Okay. So now we're going to do this for 4 bars. So we will do hi-hat, just the first bar, and then we're going to add in the snare and the bass drum on the second bar, third bar, and fourth bar. And if you mess up, just keep going. The important thing is just to have fun, keep playing through, and not to worry if you mess up. Don't get frustrated. We'll just keep coming back. It's a lot to learn in the beginning, the coordination. So unless you're an experienced drummer and you've been playing for a while, but so just continue to play through and you will get it. Okay, ready? Hi-hat just in the first bar. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and bass and snare and bass and snare and bass and snare and bass and snare. Good job. Okay, fantastic. So now that we have this basic beat, so you have your hi-hat all the way through, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and you have your snare on beats 2, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, those are going to be your snare, and then your bass drum is on beats 1 and 3, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So let's try, we will speed it up a little bit and you can follow along. So again, first bar, we're just going to do hi-hat. The second bar, third bar, and fourth bar, we will add the snare and the bass drum. Okay, ready? Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and bass and So it's very helpful in the beginning, and even now I still do it when I'm learning a new beat or something, to count out loud along with the beat. That's very helpful when you are playing, to keep track of it in your mind. So we will play this one a little bit faster, and you can, again, based on your experience level and your comfort level, play around with the different speeds. But it's great to start with the hi-hat, and then you can incorporate the hi-hat and the snare, and then you can incorporate the hi-hat and just the bass drum, and then you can put all three together. That's a good way to layer it from the beginning. Okay, so again, hi-hat, we're just going to do our hi-hat in the first bar, then we're going to add our snare and our bass drum. Okay, ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So what's also important to keep in mind is that you want the beats evenly spaced apart. So you don't want to have 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2, 3 and 4. So you want to have them evenly spaced apart. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. You can tap on your leg. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And again, the quarter beats are just 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's good to start with the quarter beats first. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can also do that on the hi-hat. You can then add in the bass drum. You can do hi-hat, you can add in the snare, and then you can play all three together. So you could start with the quarter beats first, and then move from the quarter beats to the 8th note. Now, if you want to add a little fill on the very end, we will use our crash cymbal here. It's kind of, you can kind of see here. So what we're gonna do is on the last bar, we will do where we're 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and then we'll do 4 and 1. Okay, so on the snare it will be 4 and 1. That's how we'll do our fill. So we could just practice that. 4 and 1 on your crash cymbal. 4 and 1. Okay, fantastic. So we're going to start with our hi-hat on the first bar, then we're going to add in our bass and our snare on the second, third, and fourth bar. And then in the fourth bar, we're going to play our fill. So, are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 4 and bass and snare and bass and snare. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. So when you hit the crash cymbal on 1, you also want to play your bass drum. So the 1 is the bass and the crash cymbal. So you can even practice that too. Ready? Crash. Crash at the same time. Okay, so we will play this again starting hi-hat, just with our just the hi-hat in the first bar, and then adding snare and bass, and then in the last bar we're going to add our fill. So the fourth bar we're going to add our fill. I just did that. See, as I keep playing. So instead of doing the hi-hat, I just added everything together, so I apologize. Okay, ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. we'll slow that down just a little bit. Okay, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 2 and 4. Okay, so that is just a basic drum beat and a basic fill that you can add on the end. You can definitely play around with that on the rest of your kit. You can do the fill with the rack toms. You can do the fill with the floor tom. So if you want to do a floor tom, or well, actually, you could do snare, floor, ride. So you could do that. You could do snare, floor, crash, snare, rack tom, crash, floor. So you could also do a fill that way. Okay, so we will speed this up just a little bit to do this beat, and we will we're just going to start out adding everything together, so snare and the bass drum and the hi-hat. So we can count out 1, 2, 3, 4. Do that. So that's where we're at with the basic drum or basic beat. With our hi-hats, depending on how much noise that we want to make, I press down on my pedal so that it'll be a little bit quieter for the video. But if you want it to be a little louder, that's when you let up a little bit on the pedal. Hear the difference on that. So when you're playing, if you want a little bit, so that would be a little louder when you're playing. So play around with that as well. And the main important thing is to have fun, enjoy. You're learning something new. It's a great time. And keep at it and practice. You can try your different sticks. Actually, we could do that too. We could try out the different sounding sticks while we're here. So, just thinking of that really quickly while I'm with you. So these are our rods. If you remember, these are hot rods or rods, and you'll hear just a little bit of the difference when you play these. So we'll play them on the I'll play the hi-hat, just the basic beat with the rods. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 4. Now I didn't add in the bass drum to that basic beat, just so you could hear the rods a little bit better. And then the fill would sound something like. Then we have our mallets. So our mallets are fun to use on, I like to use them on floor toms. I like to use them on our red cymbal. It's kind of fun. But we will do them on here. So you can. So those are a little bit of the different sounds. The mallets. You don't hear it as much on the snare, but if you are playing your rack toms or your floor tom, and that would be then your a little bit this way. You can see, maybe not. Okay, right here's my right cymbal. So if you wanted to do, say you were doing a fill with your floor tom, you could do 1. So it sounds kind of cool to do that. Or you could use your rack tom. So another another fun sound with the mallets on the ride cymbal are the swells. So you might have heard that in some different music as well. So those are fun for some, you know, different types of music that you're playing, but just play around with them. The brushes, we can grab those also. And I usually don't keep my brushes on the floor like that. So our brushes, you know, again, they can be used for any kind of music, but a lot of times using jazz, or you can use them in country, give that kind of. And when I'm using the brushes, I hold them a little bit differently than I hold the drumsticks. So means I'll put my finger on top like that, depending if I want to put a little bit more pressure. And I want to make it a little flatter. If I'm playing a little lighter, then you can keep your grip on your brushes the same way. So that just makes kind of, yeah, sounds like a brushing noise. So, okay, well, I hope this was informative for everyone, and keep on rocking. Have a great time, and we'll see you next summer.